Good morning and welcome to our daily devotional from Pilgrim Congregational Church. I'm Patrick Horn. Very glad to have you with us on this Monday, March the 13th, 2023. And this week, our lectionary throws us a bit of a curveball. After being in Romans for several weeks, we're going to switch over into a passage from Ephesians. So, still considered a Pauline epistle, but Ephesians chapter 5, verses 8 through 14 is our reading for the week. And I think it does actually make some sense in helping us to understand some of the things going on in the early church and how those issues relate to the gospel story, that is the story of Jesus Christ. And so let's read, as I do usually on Monday, I'll read the entire passage and offer some general reflections and then close us with a word of prayer. So this is Ephesians chapter 5, verses 8 through 14. For once you were darkness, but now in the Lord you are light. Live as children of light. For the fruit of the light is found in all that is good and right and true. Try to find out what is pleasing to the Lord. Take no part in the unfruitful works of darkness, but instead expose them. For it is shameful even to mention what such people do secretly, but everything exposed by the light becomes visible. For everything that becomes visible is light. Therefore it says, "Sleeper, awake, rise from the dead, and Christ will shine on you." Well, this is a very interesting passage in that it's difficult to understand without recognizing that just a few verses earlier in this chapter, Paul lists some vices that must not be practiced. That is, all kinds of things, not only fornication, impurity, but also greed, and obscene, silly, and vulgar talk, but instead let there be thanksgiving. And Paul is addressing an issue again that has to do with having made a commitment to follow Christ. How does one do this? How does one live in the light? It's a very different situation, of course, from the one in which Jesus was preaching and teaching, offering comfort to those who were suffering and criticizing religious leaders who were not responding to the needs of the suffering. Paul is writing, and the early church is dealing with a different set of issues and circumstances. I think this is very important. I mean, it reveals to us that the Bible is very consistent in the idea that we're each in our own context, that different contexts are different, that is, require different sorts of approaches. And so for a community that is trying to follow Christ and is committed to following Christ, what sort of relationship then do we have to these things that are recognized as unrighteous, things that are evil? And the writer of the book of Ephesians is trying to give some direction on that and encouraging not only that followers of Christ avoid these unrighteous sorts of activities, but also bring them to light. That is, show what things are unfruitful works of darkness, expose them, become clear, or as clear as one can be about what good activity is. I'm reminded of some of our own challenges in our social context. That is, dealing with problems of homelessness and problems of crime in our area. What does it mean to be right and just in that context? How does one approach these issues in justice and righteousness? Uh, and for a lot of these intractable problems, the writer of Ephesians recognizes that it's not obvious sometimes how to respond to these things, but we are to try to work on them, to try to understand how to respond in righteousness and goodness. So we'll spend more time on this this week, and particularly in relationship to other of the epistles and also the Gospels. Let's close with this word of prayer now from W.E. Orchard. O God, who guidest our minds when we think that these thoughts are all our own, and hold our hands even when we choose to walk alone, may we know that Thou have a purpose in our lives and art leading us safely and surely home. Gone are the days when we were content to live for the passing hour and the transient joy. The swift passage of our lives has made us afraid. Darkness gathers round about us, and our gladness has departed. The habitations we have built do not make a home for our souls. A strange desolation falls upon us, and though our day is far spent, we have set out to seek the city that hath foundations. We are wearied with the knowledge of which we were once so proud. We have forgotten what we set out to find. We know all things but the truth. We followed gleams of light, but they faded away, and all our hopes have failed. We guided our path by stars, but they sank below a horizon where we could not follow, and now our eyes wait for Thee, the only light of humanity. Though Thou leadest us only to a cattle shed, we will follow all humbly. Though we find only a child lying in a manger, we will worship all reverently. No pride shall blind our eyes, no fears shall turn us back, if Thou Thyself wilt lead us on. Amen. Thank you for joining me this morning from Pilgrim Congregational Church. I'm Patrick Horn, and I hope that you have a very good day. Goodbye.